Former members speak out against internet cult led by ex-reality TV star Morgue by David McAfee on August 10th, 2018.
So yeah, let's look at some highlights from this article. Really good article. Some former members of Hyperianism, a self-described cult of reason that promotes math and logic using Gothic imagery and dark metaphors, are speaking out against its founder, who goes by the name Morgue. Morgue is a former shock artist known for his role on AMC's Freak Show, but these days he told me his life is dedicated to producing knowledge. So I want to know right off the bat, how is it that a former shock artist, like a stage man, or a performer, entertainer, in other words, like a professional manipulator, pretty much, how is someone like that qualified to produce and impart knowledge? What kind of knowledge are they producing, do you think? He says that his life is dedicated to producing this knowledge. So one, I'm wondering, what knowledge is that? It's really, I mean, considering his past as Carney, as an entertainer, pretty much, this is just a new swindle, like a new grift, a new hook he's found. Like we were talking about earlier, it's another lucrative opportunity. It's like a self-styled guru that he's made himself into. And if you look at Morgue's Instagram posts and stories and the stuff like that, anything on his social media, you will, like, before long, it'll become pretty obvious to you that this is someone whose life is dedicated to enriching himself and himself alone. Like, you're talking about the shirtless photos, the like sexy come fuck me face, the like rowing machine. Like, how many people do you think can afford a rowing machine in this day and age? Like, we're not talking about like a humble working class person here who's like committed to learning and to imparting knowledge. We're talking about someone who likes the finer things in life, someone who is living their best life and just enjoys. They think they deserve the nice things. They think they deserve the best that life has to offer. That is the picture you will see when you take a look a little bit closer.
I remember the rowing machine thing, and I was Hyperion then, and I just cringed, like, oh my God, really?
He has a recent selfie where he's like laying down, and it says,
That's what I was talking about, that like come fuck me face.
Yeah, but the caption is what does God look like?
Yeah.
And going back to the whole, I need the money to keep a roof over my head. Well, the roof over his head, for the record, is a 2-bedroom Hollywood apartment with a fireplace, a balcony, and a swimming pool. A roof over my head.
Yeah.
It's a very nice roof over a very nice place.
Yeah, very, very convenient way of presenting that to everyone, isn't it? I wrote about Morgue and Hyperianism late last year when I was covering the group's rejection of Abrahamic religions and its attacks on science as an irrational religion. Morgue encouraged his followers to comment on my article, which led to a flood of Hyperians on my blog. Some were reasonable and polite, while others not so much. So this reminds me right off the bat of the tactics of like the common tactics of like right-wing influencers and content creators. Instead of engaging with any merits of any arguments that are presented to them, instead of learning, growing stronger, or any number of responses you could have to something like that, these influencers will instead sick their gullible and confused, sometimes brain dead followers, their entire fan base, on their critics.
I feel like that's Morgue saying, "Oh, write an article about me, will you?" It's like
exactly.
It's like a really toxic flex. Like
Yep. That's exactly it. So what you said, it's like very immature. It's like lashing out at your critics. We know that that's Morgue's MO. He's done that time and time again. It's very telling, I think, about this person's ideology. Hyperians are part of a tight-knit group, but some members, called the outcasts by mainstream Hyperians, were now breaking away to spread their own views about the cult and its leader. The outcasts don't have a unified message. The de facto leader of the small group, Anthony, seems to have no ill will against Morgue, who says he has good intentions. Instead, Anthony wanted to draw attention to poor treatment of members by revenants or higher-ups who emphasize social media activism within the movement. He created an Instagram account for that purpose. So when this article was written in August of 2018, this was before my time. What exactly were these things called revenants?
So revenants were never actually a thing in Hyperianism. It never got off the ground. It was announced, but it never really got off the ground. It was mentioned first in the Hyperian movie, which was accompanied with the ritual, and it's now it's totally forgotten. There was a private Facebook group called the War Room. You had to take a test to get in, but then once you got in, you were on trial for a month, and you had to read, funny enough, you had to read The God Game by Mike Hockney at that time still, but you had to read all of Morgue's work, and then you had to start posting on social media, and you had to really prove that you can expand the outreach of Hyperianism by being extremely active on social media. And once you did this, Morgue had designed this like video game, like tier, like leveling system. And so, if you had like X amount of followers, you were this level. And if you like had started producing content for Hyperianism, you'd become this level. And you would work your way up, just like in like unlocking tiers in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think, like, really, it's all about tiers, right? It's all about like levels that you can like ascend, climb up, which is very cult-like in itself.
Yes, very culty. And I just want to say, on the topic of the outcasts, I was there for that. I remember this. The outcasts were people who were bullied and picked on, but they still really wanted to be part of it. But, that's why they kept the name Hyperion. People like Jan, who's just a bully, emotionally unstable, powder keg, not being able to work with people, would get into that with them. And Susan as well. And then these people would get banned from the outer circle. And I know for a fact that Susan has this thing with Jan and Morgue where basically Jan can act like a total ass and just be the worst towards people. And what will happen is Susan and Morgue will always come to her defense and justify to anyone that Jan has been rude, obnoxious, or hurtful to, and totally justify Jan's behavior to them, or say, well, Jan's an order member, so you need to show respect, when she's acting like a total, like just obnoxious brat, like a bad kid kind of thing. And Susan has this weird thing where she likes to diagnose people. She's literally diagnosed everyone that comes through Hyperianism. Myself, both of you. She always does this. This is technically illegal because she does have a degree in psychology, but it's a bachelor's degree. Not to mention, she attained this degree like 35 years ago and has not been in practice. But what makes it illegal is you can't actually diagnose people unless you have a master's. So what she's doing is against the law. And also there's people that are just in the cults right now. And I wonder what Susan has diagnosed Renaissance Fairy with. I wonder what her diagnosis is of Laura LaFleur and Joanna Laguna. You know what I mean? Behind closed doors, you got to know these people are talking shit about you. They're calling you obnoxious. And they would never say that on the stream or to your face, but this happens. You guys know this happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know firsthand. Absolutely. And going back to the thing about, having a bachelor's degree, you can't legally practice. Yeah, you have to go to graduate school and you have to be licensed to do this.
Also, like, not only is it unethical and illegal to diagnose people at that level, but also you just don't know what you're talking about. You need the further education, the master's degree, to actually do that job well. So it's like you're coming at it from a place of ignorance, maybe like kind of thinking that you're greater than you really are.
Yeah, I know for a fact Susan has no idea what she's talking about. She didn't know, she's got this degree in psychology, right? That she got 35 years ago. She didn't know who Carl Jung was until she was introduced to the God series and Illuminism. And when Illuminists educated her on Carl Jung, she was like, wow, this is good. Yeah, no shit. This is psychology, Susan.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That she wouldn't know that. It's really strange because Jung as well as Freud, these were like considered titans of the field.
Yeah,
So like strange that she wouldn't know that. It's weird. Other members of the group, however, are more focused on what they see as Morgue's failing leadership style or his lack of financial transparency. Yeah, I mean, what was true back then in 2018 is true today, even more so, I would say, is even more egregious and offensive is the lack of transparency. Every single thing is like done behind closed doors or under the cover of darkness.
It always bothered me. I know it bothers a lot of people. Lately, he's even hid how his Patreon's doing. So now he's made it, you can't even like do your own calculations and like take a ballpark, like he's hiding all of that. And then of course, during a live stream, after he gets all his donations, the next day he cuts all of that part out. So you don't actually see how much he's making. You don't see the amount of donations. Like if you want to see,
you can't do the math for yourself. There's no way of knowing. Yeah.
If you want to see how much he's made, you have to either be there during the stream and count for yourself, or you have to catch his stream right when it ends and then do all the math before he erases those parts. But you can kind of see where that money's going because he flaunts his lifestyle on Instagram.
Exactly.
So, everyone's like throwing him money and it's made him a Hollywood millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. Like with all the forms of income that he has combined, he easily makes six figures. This dude is not hurting whatsoever.
You got to wonder if he's afraid of people finding out how rich he is.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's like once they find out, would that be at last? Would that be the final straw that would cause people to leave?
Well, nobody wants to support, this blonde-haired, blue-eyed male, white male, like WASP, I think, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, living in a fantasy world, like totally luxury living in Hollywood. The world has enough of that. And what he does is he hides his income and then goes, well, this is, I need your donations to keep a roof over my head. And then he like looks up and shit. It's disgusting. A former revenant who now finds herself among the outcasts told me in a phone interview that she found Morgue's prior group, the Order of One, by chance. She thought Morgue was interesting and liked logic and reason, so she decided to follow Hyperianism.
I just want to point out there that when the author is talking about Morgue's prior group, the Order of One, that what is really meant there is prior cult or the previous attempt at a cult. And there's been multiple attempts, and in every attempt, Morgue is always the main draw. He's always the central figure of all the stuff. So it really makes you wonder, like, why do you keep trying the same thing over and over again? It's like you must truly have some desire to be worshipped, despite all of your rhetoric. Like, I think it was the second Hyperion event, when he was like, "It's not about me, it's about we," or something like that. But it's like the rhetoric, the talk is one thing, talk is cheap, but the actual action is what speaks volumes, I think. And the actual action tells us that it really is all about him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, his just for the record, his other cults that I know about are Terrorism, and this is in chronological order: Terrors of Men, the Intern Project, the Order of One, and then finally Hyperianism. And I think the reason it keeps rebranding is because at first he's like a huge edgelord and very alienating and actually quite disturbing. And he realizes that's not going to get enough narcissistic supply for him, because the more people that come to his live streams and say, "Oh, you're so great, benevolent, and smart, and all this," that's more people praising him. And if he's doing his old tactics, people are extremely repulsed by it.
For the intern project, wasn't that like about people trying, like auditioning to be an intern or something like that?
Mhm.
So like, isn't the implication there that Morgue is like the boss? He's the big man and you're like the intern of Morgue?
Yes, that is exactly
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I think you had to send in ritualistic type videos to him to get his attention. And Hyperianism started that way too. Order of One as well. I remember the Order of One, you had to blindfold yourself, take a selfie blindfolded and send it to him.
Yep. I still have my selfie somewhere, my blindfolded selfie.
So cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get these fancy letters in the mail with the wax seal on it and everything, and it's all very.
Yeah.
And then the ritual, of course, which
Yeah.
the initiation ritual.
So this is the former revenant who is talking right now, being quoted. She says, "I always had a question about compassion, because it seemed like compassion did not fit in with what Morgue was talking about," she told me. "Emotion was seen as something bad, and logic and reason was seen as the way to go." So, I mean, I just want to say, to be perfectly accurate, Hyperians, they love talking about logic and reason. They love claiming that and saying they are that way. But and the reason for this is because Morgue says it, and they want to be just like their daddy, you know. But they, like, in reality though, when we move past the realm of lip service and just saying the right things, in reality they aren't interested in any way in any uncomfortable truth that reason might lead them to. The truth can very often be uncomfortable, and they don't like discomfort, you know. um Emotional self-delusion is pretty much the way to go if you want to remain Hyperion. You have to be comfortable with deluding yourself and lying to yourself and placing emotion above logic, above reason. I think Jan Erison is a great example of this, and that is a top level, top tier Hyperion. So that should kind of like speak volumes right there. She said no one questions Morgue or his emotional outbursts, and that he is untouchable within the cult. She noted that Morgue is known to verbally punish people by using aggressive middlemen. He has ways of punishing people. They verbally punished you until you feel at your lowest. He gets the other admin to do it. He never does it. So it's very true, and it's very important to realize that Morgue never gets his hands dirty in any sort of public way. He will never be seen in any sort of confrontation. What he does behind the scenes, though, that's another story altogether. But in terms of the public eye, Jan and Susan are what you might call Hyperion goons, trying to get the lay of the land at all times, and what people are thinking, what they're talking about, and they report all of their findings back to him, back to Morgue. Jan in particular is very oversensitive and
Yeah.
yeah, and like also prone to emotional tantrums, outbursts, lash outs. I don't think Jan knows how to work with others like or anyone else. But Jan wants to flaunt this kind of like inherent sense of superiority or divinity over everyone. Jan feels like she must be worshipped. Jan wants to be a celebrity. She wants that adoration. Despite being 4 years old, give or take emotionally, like emotionally speaking, we're talking about like a toddler here, you know.
Yeah, she's very emotionally stunted.
Yeah.
I want to point out just that in the same way that Morgue would never go to like an article, like a journalist, and criticize them publicly, but would certainly have 100 of his followers do it for him. In the same way, he will never come verbally punish you, but Susan and Jan certainly will on his behalf. It's the same behavior, whether it's against a cult critic or within the cult itself.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, I had a talking to from Susan, and I know it came from, she was doing more spitting. It was so obvious. I tried to go to her so many times to try to address certain things that I disagreed with. And I finally gave up because all I would get from her was a lecture about why I was wrong.
So at this point, the author is connected with Morgue, who agrees to an interview. Morgue said the previous article, which is the one that Nick just covered, was not reflective of the group's mission, and he wanted to clear up misconceptions. So we're going to look right now at a few highlights from this interview with Morgue, but we highly encourage you to pull this article up and read the entire interview for yourself. The author says, I asked Morgue about the conversation within the Hyperion group that prompted my initial investigation. I showed him the screenshot from Raymond, who said he wanted to literally gut people. So the author asks, can you comment on this behavior from a Hyperion in the Outer Circle Facebook group? Morgue says, this is extremely disturbing behavior. We will absolutely look into this. There are people out there claiming to be Hyperion that absolutely are not and do not follow our ideals. We are for nonviolent and peaceful reform.
So I would like to just stop the video right now and issue a trigger warning. We're about to show you an article that Morgue wrote back when the Terrors of Men was his current cult. And just issuing a trigger warning now because it's pretty gruesome. I'll pull it up. Okay, so this is an article from Morgue and the Terrors of Men during the intern project phase. And it's entitled Strangle the Bitch, written by Morgue. I cannot count how many times some spray-on tan slut has inquired in disbelief why I dress the way I do, or do the things I do. It's not sexy, she informs me. Such stupidity makes me want to strangle the bitch. Why should I be concerned if other people find me attractive in any way? Should I change my identity for a waste-producing organ between the legs? And we can see there's obviously a pretty graphic dead woman in a bloody bathtub. And he goes on, but this is really who Morgue is. This is his website. When people come to Hyperianism talking about gutting people, and people, like journalists are like, hey, that's fucked up, right? And then Morgue says, well, yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't agree with that. That's all performative, entirely performative, because this is the kind of stuff Morgue says. Such stupidity makes me want to strangle the bitch. And then should I change my identity for a waste-producing organ between the legs? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is that Morgue is a complete hypocrite, someone who's never had to answer for his previous actions, for his previous words.
Absolutely. This whole, I don't. This is disturbing behavior. He's not disturbed. This is his behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it exposes him as a misogynist.
Absolutely.
I've been told that you require new members, or perhaps revenants, to perform a certain magic ritual before joining. To an outsider, it seems like you're promoting superstition, to which Morgue replies, that is entirely symbolic and metaphorical to mark a special occasion. Something is done that says this particular moment is different and meaningful. It is significant and set apart from all the rest. There is nothing illogical or superstitious about rituals as long as they aren't interpreted in the wrong way.
I like how, I don't like, but I need to point out how Morgue dances around this question. His rituals, I've done a couple of them. I did the Revenant ritual. I did the ritual in Book 0. These serve as brainwashing initiation.
And also, you could even say that it adds like a sort of weight or mystery, I guess, to his self-proclaimed secret and forbidden knowledge.
So, yeah, I did the whole blindfolding, and you had to also make the sign of Nutera when you were blindfolded. The Book 0 ritual, my order initiation ritual, and then there was another order member group ritual that we did that I included in it. It's in the second volume 2 of Hyperianism to the Morgue. I included that group ritual in there. So yeah.
This is how he gets people extremely dedicated to the point of working for free.
Oh, yeah.
He grooms people into thinking that giving him everything is giving everything to a higher cause.
Yeah.
What is like so creepy and dangerous to me is that, like, not only we know that many people are looking for meaning or purpose or belonging or family or whatever, and that works to draw them to him, but I think the really disgusting thing is that a lot of people are looking for like a cause greater than themselves. They're looking to contribute in that way. They might see it as like this selfless act trying to improve humanity. And really, that's the higher cause bullshit. That is like how he's capitalized and monetized this false, fallacious idea of a higher purpose, a higher cause.
While you're saying this, it's stuck in my head, the initiation ritual, and how much it just separates you from everything that happened in your life previously to joining the order. It was just, at the time I thought it was, oh wow, that was great, and now looking back on it, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just,
yeah.
I'm still traumatized is what I'm trying to say. I'm still traumatized from my experiences in Hyperianism and and in Corey's cult, and God, what a relief to be out.
Yeah, indeed. So the author says, can you tell me what you think of the Outcast group? What do you think of the claims they've been making about you and your leadership? Some of them say they love the idea of Hyperianism, but that it became more about your ego than anything else. Others say you promise to be open to being questioned, but that you won't accept criticism. What's your response to these allegations? Morgue says the amount of trolling we have received has been through the roof, and we suspect some kind of organized. I'm sorry.
It's ridiculous.
We suspect some kind of organized effort, whether it's by a religious group or some other, we're not sure, and are currently looking into it. We always encourage questioning using reason and logic. Now, as far as my leadership role, this was never my intention. We welcome new, intelligent, autonomous leaders to come forward and blaze the trail in the name of reason. So I want to point out that Morgue's playbook is to label anything inconvenient as trolling, the efforts of trolls. And then he would ignore said trolling that he defines it as and move on without ever addressing it. Saying he encourages questions is part of his game, and it throws people off the scent, the real, true nature of what he's doing. Any autonomous leaders are always in the shadow of Morgue. It's his face and it's his name that is Hyperianism. That's why it's morgueofficial, and Hyperianism is always a secondary name. That's why you have like parasocial freaks showing up to the live streams and pretty much drooling over him or saying whatever unhinged shit you can think of, and no effort whatsoever is ever made to put a stop to it or to correct it, to say, hey, stop that. Nothing ever happens because he doesn't want it to happen. He doesn't want to stop. He has exactly what he's looking for with this behavior. It's all fine with him. And I mean, like, as far as his comments about the leadership role that he has, that he doesn't want, my question would be, was his leadership role also unwanted in the previous cults that he started? Because like we said before, they were all centered around him. He was always the cult of Morgue. That's all.
He says, we welcome new, intelligent, autonomous leaders to come forward. When? I know for a fact, let's see, he said this in 2018. It's 2023. And I have not seen anyone on his live stream welcomed, put in the spotlight. I haven't seen anyone come forward and blaze a trail in the name of reason. I've seen people working for him and he gives them shout outs. Is that what he means? You know, nobody will ever be on the center stage with Morgue. All of those people that actually were capable of coming forward and being on stage with him, they've all left. You know, the both of you, Kai, Rowan, you know, everyone that actually had Megan, everyone that actually could have been a new, intelligent, autonomous leader was never given any chance to be that, or to join him on stream, or in any of their merits acknowledged, except for a couple. Oh yeah, we love our mods. Oh yeah, Kai's streaming. Go check out that when you're not checking out my stuff.
Yeah, because it's all hyper individualist. The basics of it. Like his mindset is always like, well, this is mine. This is my thing. Like people are watching me. They come here for me, and you can like go do your thing and you can like do whatever, but this is mine. And you're not gonna take what's mine. pretty much is his attitude, I think.
Yes. Yes. One of the chief complaints from your former members has been a lack of financial transparency. They've told me that through Patreon, merchandise, and book sales, you raise a substantial amount of money while paying none of your people, some of whom dedicate their lives to the cause. What do you think of this? And Morgue says, people have no problem paying for a Starbucks coffee or a Game of Thrones DVD or a smartphone or a PlayStation or a Big Mac or a beer or a night out at a club or a concert ticket. But there's this attitude that people of knowledge are not to be paid and are to work for free and produce knowledge. It's just, I'm sorry, it's just funny that he doesn't pay anyone that would produce things for him. And he expects all of you to work for free, of course. But then, he's like, well, I'm not supposed to work for free.
But we are, right?
Yeah.
Fucking Christ.
It's also funny that he considers himself to be producing knowledge. He certainly produces videos that plagiarize knowledge, but he doesn't actually produce knowledge. And then, of course, he goes off to say, well, people pay to eat or go enjoy some music, go out some nights. Like, that's the same kind of like boomer argument where it's like, oh, you're so broke, you millennial, why don't you stop eating avocado toast? It's the same kind of, it's just totally like people need to relax, especially working class people who are working themselves to collapsing when they get home because they're so tired from work and they have to get up and go back in the morning or they don't have a place to live. So if they get a chance to watch Game of Thrones or something, all of a sudden they're like, well, it's your own fault that, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
And of course, this was when he was asked about his financial transparency. He goes on this huge rant. Typically, when someone does that, he's got something to hide. But
I would also point out, like at one point in his response, he talks about how he doesn't even own a car at that time. So I mean, he lives in LA. He's using Uber or Lyft.
Yeah.
And the thing is that anyone who lives or has lived in a city will tell you that that is fairly common for like people to do, to like go without a car they own and rely exclusively on like rideshare apps. And one, you have to be able to afford it if you're in that income bracket to like always round trip, it's going to be like what, like 30-40 bucks, something like that. But you can easily do that, and there's no inconvenience to you if you live in a city, because every single time you're pulling up a ride, it's going to be like 1 minute away every time, and it's simple.
Yeah, he says, I don't even own a car at the moment. Some people don't realize the cost of living in Los Angeles is extremely high. People can't afford to Uber all the time. So saying like he doesn't own a car is actually him flexing his money again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And like he says that some people don't realize living in LA is expensive. Like, yes, I am aware of that, but like also, why are you living in LA? Like, you're like a former reality star who like has probably delusions of grandeur, who wants to be like a full-on celebrity, so you have to be in Hollywood, right? It's like, if your life is dedicated to producing knowledge, why would you choose, I think it's like the second most expensive place to live in all of the US, behind New York? Why would you choose that? Hollywood too, not even just LA, like Burbank or something, but you're living in Hollywood. Like, why would you do that? So it comes down to like life choices. Why, like,
yeah, it's not like he has a job in LA that he has to go to. He could live anywhere and do what he's doing. But he wants to live in Hollywood.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he wants to be in Los Angeles.
He could still live in California, like north, and if he really, really cared about waking up the world, he could live in Montana, where the cost of living, you know what I mean? Like he could just go back to Montana and do the same exact thing. And, but no, he spends all this money on living in Los Angeles, like the good life, the sushi delivery life, the rowing machine life, the hydroponic systems, and we've covered all this, but he's like, well, LA is very expensive, like that's his answer to this.
And so is getting chauffeured around in an Uber so you don't have to drive, but he's playing it off like, I don't even own a car. It's like, yeah, because you're getting chauffeured around, instead.
He's not even like class conscious.
He's not. And that becomes apparent when he talks about, well, some people, it's just the same as the Starbucks coffee. It's like, you think working class people or people living below the poverty line go to Starbucks for a coffee?
Yeah. Yeah, like I want a $6, like just a black coffee for like $6. Like, okay, $6 could feed a family of 4. You get some rice and beans, and he's out here acting like it's no big deal to give him $5 a month or whatever, But of course, we know he thinks that he's entitled to all these things. With the narcissism.
So now, like in response to all the drama and all the concerns that David has raised during the course of this interview, Moore says, we have much more pressing matters to attend to, such as the production of our mathematics videos and world change. Change. Okay. I mean, like, how was that coming along? Like how is the world changing? How are you committed? How are you dedicated to changing the world? Every time a super chat comes in and you say thank you for helping us wake up the world, is that literally what you think, or like what you expect others to think? Like, oh, that was like my $50 super chat is like, now the world is more like the world is 5% more awake or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
When I read that, we have more pressing matters to attend to, such as the production of our mathematics videos. This was 2018, 5 years later. Where's the math videos? Like, I thought that was pressing.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, like that response sounds good. Though the production of our mathematics videos, but I think it was just constructed for the way it sounds. It sounds very intellectual, high-minded, and professional, but it's all about image. He's obsessed with image. The reality is different, but he doesn't care about that. He only cares about the way it looks.
Yep.
So yeah, all 3 of these articles are great, phenomenal, and they are, I think, potentially eye-opening for some. So I think all 3 of us highly recommend that you go check them out in full, and we'll have those links in the description, and yeah, it'll be great.
Yes, and thank you both for coming on and reading these articles. I would like to thank David McAfee for covering this cult, as well as Jared Hammer. The 3 of us were in this cult, and we're free, we're awakened, we see it for what it is. And that's due to whistleblowers such as yourself. So thank you very much for your fine journalism, and thank you for helping others see Hyperianism for the cult that it is. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for watching. I am very excited to announce there are 3 new books from the Armageddon Conspiracy / Pythagorean Illuminati that expose Hyperianism. Ex-Hyperians and Illuminists came together to create 2 brilliant new books entitled Take Hyperianism to the Morgue. They are outstanding. They are excellent. They are a must-read if you are new to Hyperianism or currently still involved in some way. They're available for Amazon Kindle. Links are in the description. There is another 3rd book by Dave Sinclair entitled Delete Hyperianism, The Face of New Cults in the 21st Century. The link for this is also in the description. Please educate yourselves on this dangerous cult. Thank you.